Lil Pump's career is over after this happened.
This thing he posted, he goes, "Not feeling good right now. I don't know if I want to keep doing any of this."
Do you want to win any of these items on your screen? If so, be sure to watch the whole video, leave a like, and comment the hidden message. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. Due to recent events, we are concerned about the safety of Lil Pump. In this video, we go in depth on the situation he's currently in and facing. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to King Trending. Number 4, taking his life.
So I'm on probation in LA. I just violated my PO, so I gotta go in and do a couple months.
While much of what we're talking about here today has to do with physical crimes that Lil Pump has done in order to prove that he's going down a dark path, there have also been cues from his social media posts that show he's not exactly in a good place mentally either. On March 30th, Lil Pump made 2 posts that dealt with passing on, and not in a good way. Not feeling good right now. I don't know if I want to keep doing any of this. He wrote in the first message. The second post was even more concerning. I feel like I'm gonna die soon, and all this will be over. Obviously, as an Instagram story, the posts were eventually deleted, but the fact he made them at all was very disconcerting. Now, one of the ways of taking these posts is by focusing on the first line. He wasn't feeling so good, meaning that he felt he could pass on by whatever was ailing him right now. And if we're gonna be honest here, there are times in our lives where we got so sick that we felt we were going to pass on. But obviously, the way it sounded and the way many feel that this was intended was that Lil Pump was a bit fed up with things in his life at the time, and as a result, he wanted to take his own life. Yeah, that's not cool, and honestly, something that should never be posted on Instagram. Just as interesting as the post, though, was the fan responses to Lil Pump. And while some were encouraging, sadly, some were not. Can't believe Lil Pump posted a suicide post, and so many people are encouraging him to do it. I hope someone is checking on him and he gets help. Never reached out like this before, but shout out to Lil Pump. I heard what you were going through. You've got a good head on your shoulders. Don't let it be clouded and distracted. Wish you the best. Retweet. Y'all pray for Lil Pump. There are too many people crying out for help in this past decade, and I used to be insensitive because for some of us, it's like no matter what, we try and push forward and then never receive help when needed. But I know we're trying to help our fellow humans. Depression is real. Money and fame certainly does not guarantee happiness. Praying for you. Isn't it sad when the fans make more sense and give more support than the celebrities they love? Now, obviously, Lil Pump isn't gone for the world just yet, and he's done some things to prove, at least to some, that he's stable and isn't having any thoughts about taking his own life. The fact remains that he still had these thoughts, and he posted them out for everyone to see. That's going to paint a picture that some people aren't going to like to see. Number 3, the beginning of the end.
And all that. And I came here to tell you from my part that I'm sorry and I apologize for posting that. It was not my intentions.
Lil Pump is an interesting case when it comes to his rise to music, because his path was helped along by his friends, which is very different than most rappers you hear today. He grew up in Florida, and his parents got divorced at a very young age. And because of this, he acted out quite a bit. So much so that despite going to various schools, he kept getting kicked out of them. But throughout all of that, he met a guy named Smoke Purp, who was a rapper. And it would be this guy who would change Lil Pump's life for the better, at least at first. Smoke Purp would start him down a path that would lead him to where he is right now in terms of his music career. Lil Pump's music journey started back in 2015. Smoke Purp asked Lil Pump to freestyle for him on a track that he was making. He did, and it was a big hit, especially when they put it on the service SoundCloud, which many rappers use nowadays to get their tracks out there and hope to get noticed. It got millions of hits. Lil Pump started to crank out music, and then in 2017, he did his most famous song, Gucci Gang. And that got him the attention he needed to truly become a name in the industry, one that has influenced it more than anyone could have realized. One of the biggest highlights of his young career by far was getting a contract from Warner Brothers Records. After some legal problems, which were worked out later on, but that honestly wasn't his fault. And of course, that record deal was worth $8 million. Think about it. He was just starting out, and he already got an $8 million contract. Since he has dropped many other singles, numerous collaborations, and recently released his anticipated album, Harvard Dropout. As for those big collaborations as well, he's teamed up with many big-name rappers, including Chief Keef, Kanye West, Lil Uzi Vert, and many more, all the while proving his rap skills and abilities to those who would listen. A funny thing was revealed to him recently that, further his career, he found out that certain record labels were actually looking at how Lil Pump got into the industry and why he, in particular, became so popular. Then they themselves were trying to mimic it in their own ways by, training these up-and-coming singers the Lil Pump method, which of course he obviously loves, but he also sees it as an impediment of sorts. Because in his mind, they're trying to clone who he is, how he dresses, how he acts, etc. They're trying to take away what makes him him, and that makes him angry. And when he gets angry, he gets in trouble, lots of trouble. Number 2, the many arrests of Lil Pump.
You guys are not gonna walk on me and tell me that's my fucking bag, bro. That's not my bag. That's not my bag.
Yeah!
That's not my bag.
Lil Pump has had a very tenuous relationship with the law, and he's never truly been afraid to break it as long as he felt he can get away with it. One year that proved this notion was true was 2018, where Lil Pump had a lot of arrests made on him for a variety of crimes, such as of February of that year when he discharged a firearm in a place that had people in it, and that was just the first of many in that long year of issues. According to Lil Pump's manager, some people had tried to break into his home, which would have been a legitimate reason to use a firearm. He then opened fire on them as a result, which would be classified as self-defense. But instead of just being straight with the cops, Lil Pump actually hid the weapon, making it so that the police had to search for it. Then when they found out that his mother was the real owner of the firearm, that means it was just lying about where Lil Pump could easily get it, casting even more suspicion on what really happened in the house. Thankfully for Lil Pump, he was only put on probation, but he didn't hesitate to push that probation out of the window soon after, because after getting his license revoked, he went out driving and got pulled over by a cop. Driving without a license is another big offense, especially when you're on probation, and he did serve jail time, just not as much as originally stated one sentence. Many think that a deal was worked out behind the scenes, which is still fine, but still, he broke the law again. Fast forward to December of 2018, where he was arrested twice in 2 different countries. Yeah, he takes his crimes internationally. In the case of the US, he refused to let his bags be searched for illegal substances, and when he wouldn't let them, he got more and more loud and animated and was eventually detained at the airport. At this point, you might be thinking, man, this kid is an idiot! To which I say, you don't know the half of it, because remember me mentioning the arrests in another country? It was so much worse than all these other ones, because in December of 2018, Lil Pump was then arrested in Denmark. He brought with him an illegal substance into the country, so naturally he got arrested. Now for the crime, having the substance in Denmark actually isn't that bad. He was only detained so he could be taken to the station and pay a fine, except that he decided to use his phone to do an Instagram live stream during the arrest. No, I'm not kidding. He did that. During the stream, he decided to go out and insult the cops while they weren't paying attention, but eventually the cops noticed what he was doing, and they also noticed him flipping them off, which led to him being arrested again. That's 2 different crimes in a very short span of time. It's almost like he can't help himself, don't you think? In terms of the punishment, while flipping the bird charge was dropped, Lil Pump did have to go and pay the fine for the substance, which he did, which is about $800 USD, which is obviously small change for a guy like Lil Pump, which all but proves that he should have just taken the charge and be done with it. But because he didn't and didn't use common sense, he actually got an even worse punishment. Lil Pump isn't allowed to go back to Denmark for 2 whole years. That's right, Lil Pump's actions actually got him banned from an entire country, just because he couldn't contain himself and just deal with the arrest in question in a regular and composed fashion. Because he didn't have that simple control, he went and costed himself not only a trip to Denmark, but he had to cancel his entire concert tour that he was planning there. So that's a loss of a lot of money. On top of the fine and the banning, sure, the money reserves will be fine without a few trips to Denmark for concerts, but that's not the point. The point is he dug a grave and he kept digging, which is something that he's very used to in regards to his music. For a while, he hasn't gotten arrested for his tracks, yet. He's raised all sorts of controversy for them, such as his recent track Butterfly Doors, where he used a racist slur in both the track for the piece and the music video. So you might be able to excuse the lyrics, but do a visual slur in the music video? Yeah, you're asking for trouble. Which you got because a lot of the people, both of the race he insulted and beyond, weren't happy with the language, and they lashed out at him. Some even made diss tracks to insult him for what he did. And also, of course, don't get me started on the Kanye collaboration he did. I still get nightmares thinking about that damn song and those boxy outfits. The point is, Lil Pump has had impulse control issues, and he doesn't know how to stop himself. And if he continues down this path, he could be ending up in a cell as one of his fellow rappers, 6ix9ine, has. Sure, some of his past issues are a small time, but that adds up over time. Again, he got banned from an entire country, and as noted, Lil Pump has shown himself quite capable of firing a weapon. So if he gets ticked off enough, what's not to say he won't go and fire something at someone else with a not so good intent on his mind? There's a fine line between genius and insanity, but there's also a fine line between portraying one thing and being that thing. Lil Pump portrays himself as a tough guy with fire in him, and his arrest and controversial music really do show that off. But if he doesn't temper that fire, someone is going to lash out, or he'll dig himself into another hole that he won't be able to fix, and that will weigh heavily on him. Number 1, is he doomed? It may sound all doom and gloom to say that this man's actions and current state of his life are a defining factor in regards to how he'll end up, but sadly, that's just how it happens more times than not. And really, this isn't something that people are just saying randomly. There are many who are genuinely concerned about how Lil Pump is going to end up. Sure, right now, he's got a lot going for him. A new release album, he's got some other tracks going on and collaborations as well. But he also continues to bring controversy down around his head, and what's more, he's not that smart with his money in a lot of ways. And too many times, we've seen rappers, young and old, blow through their money because they think there's an infinite supply. Newsflash, it's not. Ask MC Hammer. Plus, when you add his recent post about taking his own life, that puts his mental health into question, which is something that everyone should take seriously. Sure, he'll eventually laugh it off and start singing again, but what happens if this is brought up again? What if this becomes a pattern? Usually this would be the part where someone would talk about a support system that a person has and how their duty and responsibility to try and make the person feel safe and better. But can you honestly tell me one person who is in Lil Pump's circle that isn't very much like him? Exactly. While there are good rappers out there in the world, very few of them would be up for the task of helping Lil Pump in his situation, if they wanted to help him at all, that is. After all, this is a very cutthroat industry. So is Lil Pump doomed? Well, it's hard to say. His actions speak far louder than his words, of course, but he does play cool. But still, he's human like the rest of us, and we all have our limits. It's just a question of when Lil Pump will reach his, and which limit he'll collapse from first. So there you have a breakdown of the life and problems of Lil Pump. Do you think that his path is clear? That it will lead him to being gone for the rap industry and possibly gone from life? Or do you think he'll be able to bounce back in a big way? And of course, what do you think his future truly is? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on King Trending. A simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's really your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Go for it.